Hello everybody, today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. This is Jay with Classic Reaction. This is my new project car I just bought last weekend, over the weekend. And as I said in the first video I introduced this car, it runs terrible. And what it's doing is it seems like it's not firing, like it's misfiring everywhere. It smells like it's getting plenty of gas. When it's running super rich, and but it's just really missing like crazy. And it's got no check engine light on in it. So what I have a couple theories of what happened. The guy that I bought the car from, obviously just from talking to him, he had no clue what he was doing at all. And I mean, he bought the car from the older woman who owned it all of the, since it was brand new. And he only bought it last year. He's only had it for a year. And I think you can see right here, the car was off the road for quite a few years. And one of two things happened. I think that I think he started it and the gas was crappy in it, and it fouled the spark plugs, and then he didn't know what to do from there. And maybe the spark plugs are still fouled. That's what I'm hoping. I can just change spark plugs and be done. Or the other thing that could have happened is he could have tried to change the spark plug wires or mess around with a distributor or something, and the spark plug wires are all mixed up, so it's on the wrong firing order. One of these two things happened. The car's got awesome oil pressure. It's still got power even though it's running on 3 cylinders. It sounds terrible. I'll start it up for you. If it'll even start. Got awesome oil pressure. It's charging and everything, but you can hear it. I think it's literally running on 3 cylinders. It sounds terrible. It also has a gigantic exhaust leak right in front of the catalytic converter. But I got a brand new catalytic converter on the way. So what we're going to do first is, it's black smoke inside here. So it's getting plenty of fuel. It's just not lighting it for some reason. So first thing I'm going to do is get underneath here. I'm going to change the spark plugs. And then we're going to start it up and see what happens from there. Stay tuned. All right, so we're back. I just got finished changing the plugs. The plugs are literally just black, wet and black with fuel. So we're just going to start it up, just give it a try, and see what happens. I don't know why they would be running so rich like that. Let's hope for the best. Well, it sounds a lot better already, I can tell you that. You gotta be kidding me. There's still gonna be a lot of fuel in the exhaust from when this thing was going crazy before. Still sounds terrible because of the hole in the catalytic converter. Sounds 1,000 times better. Holy cow, I'll tell you that. Spitting out all the old fuel that was left in the exhaust. revs so much smoother. I'm gonna let her warm up and see how it goes here. Stay tuned, guys. All right, guys, I let it warm up here. I've been drove it up and down the road a couple times, going up and down the driveway a few times. It's no longer spitting black smoke out the black with black water, so it's burning. It's burning the fuel now. The spark plugs are lighting them up, anyways. Still acts to me like it's not doing perfectly yet. Once I get something in there, right there, you can hear it. So we're going to check the underneath the distributor cap and see what things look like, and also the coil. Stay tuned. Hello everybody, today is October 31st. 2024. This is Jay with Classic Reaction. We are back on the saga of our 1992 Trans Am here. This car is this car fooled me. I'm hoping it fooled me for the last time, but this thing has run terrible ever since I got it. It's just ran awful, and you know, it's got one of these 2-port injection motors in it. And, you know, these things, they look complicated. A lot of people think they're complicated. They're really not that complicated, especially a 92 version. They're pretty simple. You know, instead of a carburetor on a regular small block Chevy, this is basically, this whole system right here is the carburetor. But instead of, you know, using vacuum signals to pull fuel through and everything, the computer does all the figuring out of what the car needs. And the way it does that is this has sensors here and there all over the engine to tell it what temperature the engine is, where the throttle is opening, you know, what kind of timing's in it. It just, it's pretty simple. As long as everything's working correctly, it's pretty bulletproof. So when I got this car, I'll show you how bad things are here. This is how black the damn exhaust is when it runs. It's just blowing black smoke. It's fouling plugs within, you know, a couple minutes. And so the very first thing I checked on this car was the injectors. So, or, you know, the fuel pressure regulator, you would say. So there's a little, like a little Schrader valve over on the other side on the fuel rail. You hook up your fuel pressure gauge, turn your key on, and you watch your fuel pressure. It'll go right up to 44 pounds or whatever it is, 50 pounds. And then it stays there, which is what it did when I first got it. Stayed right up there. As soon as I started the car up, it went back down to like 43 pounds or something like that. It was fine. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. So that's the very first thing I ruled out, was the fuel pressure regulator and the fuel injectors. And the fuel injectors have been changed. I can see where they've been changed. So I thought, fuel injectors are marked off the list. That's not the problem. So after that, I went to the ignition system. The ignition system was old. It was original. One of the bolts was broken off in the distributor base, so the cap wasn't real tight on there. So I changed. Luckily I had a brand new distributor left over from another car that I did a couple of years ago. Dropped a brand new distributor in there, brand new plugs, and the car still ran pretty much exactly the same. So then I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe it is the map sensor. If the map sensor is not giving the correct reading to the computer, it will make the car run rich. It'll think that it's not getting enough. I think it's always on low vacuum, so that it's demanding more fuel. It thinks that you're stomping on the gas. Change the map sensor. That wasn't it. The map sensor is giving out the correct voltage. I checked the throttle position sensor. That's putting out the correct voltage. I checked for vacuum leaks. There's no vacuum leaks. Then I checked for the coolant temperature sensor. That's putting out the correct voltage. So then I'm thinking, okay, it's the computer. The computer's screwing up on this car, which I didn't really think that's what it was, but because it was still, doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, with the check engine light and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I'll just change it. It costs a couple $100. I'll just change it. Then I can rule that out. Put a new computer in it. Started right up. It runs exactly the same. So at that point, I'm thinking, I don't know what's left. I don't know what's left on this to make it run so rich. So just to go back, and I thought I'm going to start from the beginning, go back from the beginning, and see if I can figure this out. So I stuck the fuel pressure gauge. This was after it was warmed up. Okay, the first time I checked the fuel pressure on this car, the car was cold, and everything was normal. This time I checked it when the car was warmed up, just out of pure luck. I put the fuel pressure gauge on there. Just turned the key over, watched the fuel pressure go right up to 50 pounds, then it went right back to 0. And I thought, well, that's strange. Why would it do that? So I turned the car on. I did it again. I shut it off, turned it back on, went right up to 50 pounds, then went right back to 0. And I thought, I wonder if the fuel injectors are stuck open, because where would that fuel pressure be going? It's got to be going somewhere. If it's not, it wasn't going back through the fuel pressure regulator. I went to go start the car up, and it hydrolocked itself on gasoline. So that explains why this car is running so bad. The fuel injectors are hanging open on it. Once it gets warmed up, I believe, the fuel injectors are not closing all the way, or they're hanging open, and this thing's dumping raw fuel, way too much fuel. And that's why we're getting black smoke, and it's running so terrible. I checked the voltage from the coolant temperature sensor. I checked the voltages at the computer to make sure that all the signals are getting back through the firewall to the computer. Everything's fine there. So 99.999% sure that it is the injectors, the new injectors that are in it. So maybe the guy changed them and put $40 jobbies in from eBay or something. I have no idea, but they are not working, especially once they get warm. So I bought a brand new set of fuel injectors from a company called South Bay Fuel Injectors. I've got stuff from them before. It's done a great job. So we're going to be tearing off this tune port injection system. The fuel injection rails are underneath that, the fuel injectors. And hopefully this fixes the car. Hopefully we'll have a running Trans Am, or one that runs a lot better. The other nice thing about this is this car will be getting disassembled quite a bit, to get painted. So this whole entire front clip will be coming off, all the ground effects. The doors I probably won't take off, but I'll be stripping them down to bare doors. Mirrors, of course, trunk lid, tonneau cover, all the bumper covers, all that stuff will be coming off. So that's the only way you can do a paint job on something like this. I mean, the car barely even needs a paint job, but I think with a nice paint job on this thing's gonna really look nice. It's gonna be a beautiful car. Of course, we got a little bit of damage there that we have to fix. But if you tried to do a paint correction on this, you'd be really have to sand into the clear coat to get the little various scratches here and there out. You'd probably never be able to get them all out. It's just wear from being in the garage over the years. And this paint on this car is from 1992. It's pretty old, so nice new technology paint on it would really bring it to life. So while this front end's off, we'll be able to get underneath here, get this all washed. A really good, nice, clean, hot soapy water will bring all this back to life. It'll all look brand new again. Once your hinges are off, you can get all this little dirt out of here and stuff. So yeah, it'll be a really pretty car. So get out some tools and get the fuel injection fixed on this thing. We'll get a good running car again. Can't wait. Stay tuned. Cross your fingers. Pray for me. Okay guys, so we've got the plenum off the top of the engine here. There you can see the fuel rails. You can see the new fuel injectors, the faulty fuel injectors. While this is all apart, you know what? The way that I do this, the way I'm going to do this one, you know, the alternators here, it makes it much easier to undo the fuel lines here and take this whole entire manifold, you know, this whole fuel injector rail off. It's one big piece. It's a little bit tricky trying to get them undone right there. This car, you know, obviously it's been in before, so that bolt there is loose. I found about 3 bolts on the plenum, the ports there, the tubes that come down were loose, finger tight. So that wasn't helping the situation, and neither was the fact that they didn't change the gaskets while they were in there. The gaskets were like $15. I don't know why you wouldn't change them. But that just introduces, you know, then you can have vacuum leaks, and that's just making the car throw more fuel too, so that probably wasn't helping either. So I'll probably end up just getting a new alternator for this, just because the old one looks old, and a nice new one to look good in there. You know, while I have this apart, I'll be doing a bunch of much detailing as I possibly can here, degreasing everything, getting it all cleaned up as I can while I've got it apart. So stay tuned. Okay, so we're about 2 hours into the process now. Got the fuel rail off, or basically right down to a bare engine on top here, right down to the intake. So while this is all apart, I'm going to get in here with some brake clean and clean all this up, try to get as much you know, oil and whatever dirt off of this engine, get it nice and clean while it's apart, get it detailed. One thing I'm going to be doing while this is apart is going to be called a coolant bypass mod, or throttle body coolant bypass mod. So there is a little tube here that runs through the throttle body and back into this hose and back down into the intake manifold. That's for wintertime driving, so it warms up the air slightly. You know, when you're driving in the wintertime, this car is never going to be driven in the wintertime ever again. It is entered collector status, so that doesn't need to be there anymore. It's basically just robbing power from you, and getting rid of that will give us a little bit extra power back, and a little bit less complexity and a little bit less chance of leaks and stuff like that. So we're going to do that while we're doing this. So we'll come back here once I start to get things cleaned up and start to get the fuel injectors ready to roll. While this is apart, I'm going to get a new alternator, just because that one's a little bit old looking on top, so that way it's going to look nice and fresh underneath. We're going to do some good cleaning on these parts, some good aluminum cleaner on there, get them cleaned up as well as we can. There's our fuel rail. It's going to need to be all cleaned up, and new injectors in there, of course. While we're doing this, we're going to go ahead and replace the ignition wires, spark plug wires, spark plugs again, because the new ones I just put in there are all fouled out now. And of course, this is going to get all brand new gaskets and everything. I'll clean up the throttle body really, really well. So stay tuned. All right, so we're to the point where we've got everything off the engine. It's undergone its first initial cleaning underneath here. Went over all this stuff with degreaser. I actually gave it a real bath with soap and water underneath there, and of course I blocked off all the holes with rags and stuff before I did that. Got everything cleaned up as best I could on the first try here. Got it all dried off as much as I could. Still a little bit of water here and there, but got the initial 30 years of grime off from underneath the hood here. The last couple of years will be I have to go around this really inch by inch with a rag and soap and water and finish that. Over here, we've got the runners all cleaned. Went over these with aluminum cleaner. The runners are cleaned, upper plenum. The piece that goes over the distributor back there, that's plastic, just looks like aluminum. Throttle body's all perfectly clean. I've got the fuel rail all cleaned up. Again, these are the old injectors. These are going to go down the road. These are junk. And it's also going to get an adjustable fuel pressure regulator, just because as long as I have this all taken apart, I want to have everything brand new in there. So there's no better time than the present to do this stuff while it's taken apart. So again, all brand new gaskets between everything. So hopefully we don't have any vacuum leaks. It must have had to have some kind of vacuum leak from before, but it's not going to now. So we're going to let this thing sit until tomorrow and get perfectly dry, get the floor all dried up, because I'm going to be crawling underneath there changing plugs and stuff tomorrow. So we'll get the new injectors in this thing, get the top of the engine put back on, get the new plugs put in, and we'll see how it runs. Let's cross our fingers. Hope for tomorrow. Stay tuned. All right, so here we are Friday morning, November 1st, 2024. As you can see, I've got the new fuel injectors installed, the fuel rail's back on there. I've got brand new Fel-Pro gaskets down in there for the runners. You know, they look like they'd be terrible to hold in place, but they've got little plastic plug clips that go on that plug them right into the intake, so they hold them right still while you're putting your runners on. So a little bit tricky, but not too bad. So now we're going to start putting runners on, and I'll get back with you as soon as I've got some of that stuff done. Stay tuned. Okay guys, we're back. Everything's put together here on the front of the engine. Everything's back together. One thing I have off is the air filter, which I'm not going to put on until after I hear it run and everything. Make sure it runs good. Same thing, I have the little cover that goes over the distributor off until I'm get everything timed in and running right here. But what we really want to do is we want to hear this thing start and run without blowing crazy black smoke everywhere. So I'm going to, I just hooked up the battery. We'll try turning it over and see what happens. Hope for the best here. Here we go. That's in the exhaust. take two on this one and see what happens. Okay, so I figured it out. All it was the new fuel pressure regulator that I put on. I put on an adjustable fuel pressure regulator and didn't really check, see where it was at when I put it on. They had that thing screwed up to freaking 60 pounds of pressure. It's almost over 60. It was like 63. And this only needs 43 pounds to run. So turn that down. The car's warmed up right now. Ever since I've gotten this car, I have never been able to, once it was warm, do this. Never since I got it have I been able to do that. Not when it was warm. You hear the that ticky ticky tick? That's the new fuel injector sticking away. Runs like a top, guys. Holy cow, am I happy. I changed the oil in it. The oil in it was like water because of the last injectors, the bad injectors that were in it, were just dumping so much fuel that it was just running right down the oil pan. So it was actually shows about 80 pounds of oil pressure now. It's probably not used to having such good oil in it. But yeah, very, very happy. Very happy. Couldn't be more relieved that this thing is running right now. It just threw me for a loop. So many things, the things that I thought that were okay, which is, it's a good, you think I'm 49 years old. I've been around the block a couple times. You'd think I would know to check some things, or not assume that something that is new is okay. Because this thing with all brand new injectors in it, I thought were fine, but they weren't. And the car fooled me too, also because very first thing I checked was fuel pressure back when I first was working on the car, and it held pressure when it was cold. As soon as it got warm, that was when the injectors really screwed up and started dumping fuel. So, but man, am I happy, very happy. So, our next step on this car, now that it's running properly, so happy about that, is to we'll finish up putting the rest of the engine compartment back together here, and then we're going to start tearing it down, start getting the body panels off of it, fenders, front bumper, ground effects, rear bumper, all that stuff, and start getting this thing ready to paint. While it's all apart, we'll really do a really nice cleaning and detailing underneath here, get it all perfectly clean. Again, this car only has 23,000 miles on it, so it's worth putting some time into it to really clean it up and really make it look brand new again. So very excited, very, very excited. Makes my day. I've got to, I'll tell you one thing that happened too to this car, which I know this is what happened. There was the guy told me there was a rust hole in the exhaust in front of the catalytic converter. And I'm thinking, the rest of the exhaust is perfect on this car. It's all brand new. And I'm thinking, why would it rust? The rest of the car doesn't have a speck of rust on it. Why would it rust right there? But, it's an exhaust, so it's a common thing. And when I first got the car, you could hear it, had like an exhaust leak right there. And I got underneath there and looked at it, and it looked like somebody had used a MIG welder to weld the pipe all back together. It looked like it was in pieces. What I think happened is I think this guy was having problems with his, after he got his injectors changed, after they started dumping fuel, I think it dumped fuel down in the exhaust so much that it got collected in front of the catalytic converter, and I think it exploded, and I think it popped the pipe open like a can opener, and they tried to weld it back together again. So I've got a brand new catalytic converter for it, and a brand new piece of pipe to go in there to fix that. So it sounds a little loud right now. Just because I'm thinking, catalytic converter is probably completely plugged from all the gas running through it. So I cut a hole in the pipe where they did their little hack job there, so that it could breathe a little bit freer, and I think that's helping a little bit too. So we'll get that fixed. That's no biggie. I'm so happy, so happy. Makes my freaking day. So stay tuned on this one. That little saga's over with. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal to get this thing running right, but that's okay. She's running right now. It's got everything on the engine is brand new, so it's definitely tuned up good. And it's on fouled plugs right now, so I'll change the plugs one more time. But yeah, extremely pleased. So stay tuned, guys. I'll keep you up to date on this one as we start to tear it down and start turning this thing into a brand new car again. Emerald green. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching my hijinks and watching me struggle on the struggle bus. And we'll see you in the next one.